I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 187, Making Room for It All, Lessons from a Wedding. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Heal from Infidelity. Thank you for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about emotions, about feelings, about highs and lows, about how to make room for all of it. Before we dive into that, I want to remind you that there is a brand new course that I've created, a brand new class about deciding to stay or go after infidelity. I've already been getting such great feedback, people who are hearing it and learning from it and being able to really assess where they are, why they are there, and where they want to go, and feeling like they can take personal responsibility for that rather than waiting for something to happen before they do. I invite you to go get it. It's in the show notes. It's only $47. It is a deep masterclass. In addition, a 38-page workbook that goes along with it. That's a deep dive into the things that we talk about. So you can really go deep and leave with so much more understanding of where you are. This is for you, even if you've already decided, but struggle with your commitment to that decision and sometimes wonder and sometimes go, do I really know what I'm doing? Do I really want to be here? So go check it out. Again, it's in the show notes. Go grab it. Okay, so why did I choose this? Because one thing you can count on me for is to keep it real and to be authentic with you. And last week was beautiful, and last week was also really intense. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it in hopes that it will help you, okay? Last week, my daughter got married, and this is my oldest biological daughter, the first of my biological daughters to get married. I've had bonus daughters get married, one during COVID, so we had a very small wedding, and one here in Montana. This is the first biological daughter to get married. It was out of state, and organizing it all to be out of state, and then all the guests and all the things. And it was a lot to pull off. But going into it, there are some things I was a little nervous about, but I was just confident that I was going to be able to pull it off, that it would be okay. I worried sometimes that I was going to forget some big things. And so I'd go through my checklist again and again. I did not sleep much days leading up to it because I was just running through all the different things like, okay, what about this? What about this? Did I remember this? And so the day of, I was just a lot of adrenaline kicking in by this point because I was physically exhausted already and then had to pull off this wedding and traveling and figuring out all the things for accommodations, being out of state, all of that, right? But it was wedding day, and we were up early and getting ready for the long day, and off we went, right? And during that day, it was really, really beautiful, really big turnout. So we had members of my first husband's family, several of his siblings, his parents, cousins. We had many of my current husband's siblings. Many of them came, his parents. We had my parents and some of my siblings. And then, of course, my new son-in-law and his parents and grandparents, both sets, and aunts and uncles. So we had a pretty big turnout. And I had people show up that I have not seen in such a long time that it was wonderful to just give a hug to and thank them for coming. I had some good friends come, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Now, what surprised me, and I'm going to just be real with you here, what surprised me is what happened the day after the wedding. Even the night of, after everything was done, after they drove away, even watching them drive off there was just this ache in my heart, and I'd kept it together all day. And at that point, I was standing next to the mother of my new son-in-law, and we just turned to each other and hugged, and I cried on her shoulder. And just this moment, there she goes. There she goes. My daughter's married. It makes me cry to even record this. It's still pretty tender. So much joy for the happiness of my child. She's so happy. They are well suited to each other. I think they're going to have a good life together. But there also that night was some other things that came up for me, and the next day and the next day that were pretty intense. And I'm sharing them with you because I'm hoping that it will help you as you navigate similar emotions, similar things, that you can take to heart the things that I'm sharing and use it for yourself, okay? That night, there were some things that happened that were 100% out of my control. There was an issue with the food, and I'm not going to get into it. I don't even want to give energy to the thing that happened with food by talking about it, but there was a pretty major thing that happened with the food that was somebody that I'd hired to be in charge dropped the ball big time on. And it was disappointment about what happened with the food, but also disappointment in how I handled it and thinking, oh, you should have said this, you should have done that, right? There was disappointment in some comments that were made to me that day that stung by different people. Nothing major, not like multiple comments, but just little comments or comments that were made to other people that I heard about later. Not necessarily about me, but just in general. And that night, I didn't sleep much again, and I was so tired, but I was kind of replaying the day and going, oh, did I mess that up? What about this? Should I have done this? Should have done that, right? And so by the time morning came, I was not in a great headspace. I was so tired, for one, just so tired. And also, I was being hard on myself and thinking, I wish I would have done this and this. I wish I would have done that. And I was going through like a checklist of the things that I should have done differently, when in reality, what I was not making room for in that initial moment was the wave of letting my daughter go, the wave of loss, the wave of grief, a wave of, it will never be the same. It will never be the same. And I didn't give myself a whole lot of room for that. Leading up to the event, I had set my own intentions on how I wanted to show up in the family situation, where knowing my first husband's family would be there, in knowing that he was missing it, my first husband, that he was missing the whole thing, that he wasn't there, he died, making room for that, feeling so much love and gratitude for my current husband who was there and danced that father-daughter dance with my girl, and was beautiful and supportive and loving, and feeling joy and gratitude there, and grief and loss in the other hand, right? So I wanted to record this today to go through this with you for yourself, so that you can remember too that real emotional maturity, real healing is an ability to hold both. It's an ability to not have anything, any emotion that we're too afraid of or that we reject within ourselves. And I can tell you, a couple days in, this is what happened. I was having all of these emotions, and then I was judging myself for it. Like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Like, come on, Andrea. And so what I did is I reached out to, in a group, some coach friends of mine, and said, all right, this is what's going on. And there's a few of them, 3 of them, that I left a message to, and all of them came back with like, of course, this is what you're feeling. Of course, this is what's happening. And like kind of challenged me on my own judgment of myself. And I instantly felt a lift. I felt this lift of like, oh, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It means that I'm a tender-hearted mother who just had a really big day with a lot to handle, like a lot to hold. A lot of feelings for a lot of people in a situation that is not simple. And the second I allowed myself to just go, oh, like, what if it's not a problem? I felt relief from the intensity of the emotion. I was making it so much harder for myself by judging myself for having the feelings I was having. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so now I want to jump into a few main points that I want to make sure to touch on today. Part one of this is the myth of just pure happiness. Okay, we have a lot of cultural expectations around big days, like weddings, that they should just be joyous, just so happy, just joyous. I'm thinking of the birth of a child. I'm thinking of graduation days, graduation from high school, college, kids flying the nest, all these like big hallmark days that we have that we think of as joyous. But where do we talk about the other hand of that, which is all the other feelings that we feel as humans? We are humans. We are emotional beings, right? We are meant to have feelings and meant to have emotions. So why is it that when we feel something other than joy, this can make us feel broken or guilty? I'll tell you, for me, the words that kept coming, Andrea, you're just too sensitive. Guess where I've heard that? I've heard that my entire life. See, Andrea, you're just too sensitive. Here you go. You're feeling too deeply. What's wrong with you? And truly, the second I released that, oh, this is actually not a problem. It's okay. And where are we making ourselves wrong for feeling what we feel on days that should look a certain way, right? And it goes both ways. Sometimes there are events, days, things that can happen where we think that we should be feeling negative emotion. I have clients that will come to calls and say, you're not going to believe it, but I just had the D-Day. It was the anniversary of D-Day, the Discovery Day, and it was a great day. And I planned it intentionally, and I allowed myself to feel what I needed to feel, but I didn't even need to go there. And I actually felt so much gratitude for being where I am. If we were just to go along with cultural expectations about how we should feel, ooh, bummer, right? Yeah, that's a lot of heavy emotions for a long time if we just believe those stories. Even going to a funeral, the death of somebody, that we can maybe feel some relief that that person's not suffering, maybe feel joy for some reason, right? And then we judge ourselves, what's wrong with me that I would feel this way, right? It goes both ways. We are allowed to have mixed emotions. Joy does not cancel out grief, and grief does not ruin joy or any other emotion. They can sit side by side, all right? So what was present for me that day? What was present for me was, one, so much joy in seeing my daughter so beautiful. She just looked so beautiful and looked so happy, like truly happy. And she was so loved. So many people came to support her, people that I hadn't seen in years, cousins of my first husband, friends that I haven't seen in a long time, just to support them. I felt such joy having so many people that I love in the same space and seeing my daughter soak it all in. She was truly a beautiful, graceful, lovely bride. And behind the scenes, I saw moments of stress and worry, or her physically not feeling good that day, that same day, but her also being able to hold it and to hold the discomfort of her physical sensations, and being able to appreciate all of the love that was being shown to her. I felt so much joy when, after they drove away, she sent me a text thanking me for being her mother and for making her day perfect. So much joy. And knowing that when she was off with her husband on their honeymoon, to know that she thought to reach out and to say thank you. The grief, the grief of it will never be the same. The grief of this child's life who has experienced so much life in her young life, right? The big, loving, amazing, supportive family that was there, so many people, and the reality that her life looks nothing like I thought it would. The grief that, as wonderful as it is that she married into a wonderful family, that she now has two families. And that I have to make room for that, for visits to his family. That's not just going to be coming home to us. pride in my child, pride in who she's become, and the many people that came up to me to tell me how much they love her. And the pain of seeing so many people there that were supportive and loving, but that maybe weren't quite sure how to show up because it's not your typical situation. And what is true is that nothing was wrong with any of those feelings. They were all welcome. Where I hurt myself is by thinking that I was wrong for the intensity of what I was feeling, that maybe there was something wrong with me, and judging myself for it. And some of that, again, was judging myself for wishing that I would have handled a couple situations differently. All right, now, in this next part, I want to talk to you about why we resist feeling it all. After the fact, I decided, this was a few days later when I was still just emotionally so tired, physically so tired, I sat down with my journal and I journaled for a long time and just piece by piece kind of like dumped my brain onto the paper so I could see all the thoughts that were there. And piece by piece, what I could see is that I was trying so hard to make this perfect day because I didn't want to deal with my own disappointment. Isn't that interesting? I didn't want to have to feel it. I didn't want to feel like I dropped the ball or like I let anybody down or like I was being judged or anything like that. Why? Because I didn't want to deal with that feeling. And so I was able to see how with all the work that I've done, there's still this knee-jerk reaction in me to avoid pain. None of us want pain. But when I was able to see that, I was like, oh, yeah, I was totally trying to do things perfectly so that I didn't have to feel anything after, as if I couldn't handle it. And then when those emotions were there, because I was planning on not having to feel any of it, I judged it. I thought I failed somehow. Isn't that so interesting? Where do we do this after infidelity? Often what's happening in your healing is you're learning to hold 2 truths or 17 truths at the same time. That there can be gratitude that finally we're in a place where we can really get to the bottom of things and really tell the truth. And I hate that it happened this way. We can be grateful for our own growth and still so hurt that there was a betrayal. Okay? On and on. I could go on and on with examples here. Here's the thing though. Emotions are not actually the problem. They are not a problem. Emotions are not a problem. They're literally just an experience that we're having, an emotional sensation that we're just having, that we can just allow to move through us. And where we get ourselves in trouble is where we attach a ton of meaning to it. If I were XYZ, then XYZ, right? And once I recognized that, man, like totally turned everything around. Totally turned it around to remember that truth, this thing that I already knew and forgot, right? I just forgot. And the second I remembered, by the help of a coaching friend of mine, I'm like, oh yeah, I know this. Oh, it's not a problem? What? It's not a problem? I'm not being overly dramatic or overly sensitive. I'm just a person having feelings about my daughter getting married and some of the things that happen. Oh, that's not a problem, right? So what does become possible when we allow it all? Let me repeat what I said before, which is that emotional maturity means the ability to hold many truths at once. When we allow it all, we grow our capacity to hold more. What it means when we allow ourselves to feel a lot of grief and loss is that we also deepen our capacity for joy, for receiving, for the things that we do have. Pretty incredible, right? When I could look at my daughter and see how many people traveled from really far to celebrate her, to love her, and to love him. How amazing is that? That so many people love my kid enough to make it a priority to come, despite all of the things that have happened, to have so many different people from so many of my different walks of life there, right? I could hold the grief and the joy and gratitude in one place. I could look at my beautiful daughter and see her and see how amazing she is and how proud I am of her, and also feel this painful loss at the same time. This is the work that you're doing right now. Okay? It's not just about fixing the relationship or fleeing the relationship. It's not about fixing yourself. Okay? It's not. It's about growing your ability to hold complexity, to hold many truths, both and. That you can be grief-stricken and so sad and so hurt and so angry, and also have somewhere in there this understanding that maybe you wouldn't wake up to what was going on any other way. And here you are. And boy, is being awake painful, but knowing you're not going back to sleep, and that the only way forward is through, not by going backwards. That's a pretty great place to be, even if it's really uncomfortable, because what it means is that you are elevating your own life. You are raising the standard for your life moving forward. That's pretty awesome, even if it's painful now, right? I want to remind you, for those of you listening to this that might be in a season where there's a lot of feelings involved, that you might feel a lot of mixed emotion, hope, fear, love, pain, grief, loss, gratitude. You're not doing anything wrong, my friend. You're not. I also want to remind you that you don't have to wait until the hard stuff lets up to celebrate what's good. What this means is, even in a relationship you're in, you don't have to wait for it to arrive at a certain point before you can be grateful for where you are. Most of all, please hear me on this. You do not have to wait for you to arrive to a certain place before you can be really proud of yourself, till you can remind yourself that you're doing just fine, that there is nothing wrong with you. I want you to do what I finally, a couple days in, reminded myself of. Oh yeah, all of me is welcome here. It's all welcome here. There's no part of me that needs to be off limits. It's the same for you. It's the same for you. All of you is welcome here. And the more we can make room for every part of us, that's healing. That's healing. It's not the cutting off of parts. It's allowing room for all of them and not making any of them wrong for being there. Okay? To wrap this up, it's not about cutting off certain feelings and making certain feelings wrong. It's about honoring our humanity and our complexity. There is no emotion that's too big, too small, or too messy to belong. The more you let yourself hold it all and let it be there, the more fully you live. When we make certain things off limits, we're cutting off part of the human experience. So how can you make room for everything that you're feeling today? How can you make room and not make any part of you wrong? All of me is welcome here. How can you give that to yourself today? I invite you to do so. I invite you to practice this. Please be kind to yourself. It was such a good lesson to me about the old parts of me that used to punish myself pretty harshly. And to go back to that place of making myself wrong for my feelings and to go, oh, that's what's happening. That's why this is so much more intense. And to be able to instantly stop when I realized it. Like, man, I don't need to do that. I can just let that go and not make myself wrong. And to feel such a relief in that. You can give that to yourself too. Okay? And I encourage you to. All right. Thank you, friends, for being here. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.